Hello there. My name is Alicia, aka Edmiston Creations, and I am a wife, mom, social worker, and athlete living in the mountains of South Central New Mexico. And this is a channel where I like to share a little bit about the things that I've been up to, maybe some of the things I've been doing with my family or the workouts that I've been into lately. I love CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting, but I've also been a lifelong runner and endurance athlete. And I also like to share some about some general mental health and wellness tips. I am a social worker by day, so I enjoy sharing things that maybe you could potentially find helpful or authentic to your life, as well as maybe apply them to your making process. So if that sounds like something that interests you, then welcome. This is a space for you. So today I wanted to share just a general overview to say general a bunch of times, right? So today my intention is to share a little bit about what I've been up to the last couple of weeks, dive into this stack of finished makes to share with you, as well as answer a viewer question. I had someone ask me how I first learned to knit and got into knitting, so I thought I would share my knitting story with you. So then we'll see I'll see what the time is, and I may share a little bit about current whips that I'm working on and my future plans for making, but we'll see how things go because I have a lot to share. So there's always time for other episodes, and so I may save whips and making plans for another time. We'll see. So without further ado, let's dive in. What all have I been up to the last couple of weeks? Primarily, nothing radical or out of the ordinary, just general day-to-day life that has required my attention. I have had, since my last episode, I had every intention of sharing another episode, in general on a weekly basis, but for whatever reason, it's just not happened. I've had, a lot of things that have needed my attention as a mom, as well as attention with my clients. And with Christmas coming, my partner has also been really busy trying to fit in all of his work into fewer days. We're both sole proprietors of our businesses, so basically we'll try to work as much as we can before we take time off, or we don't get vacation time, in other words. So he's trying to get all of his work for the month of December in within fewer days so he can take time off to really slow down with me and the kids. So with him being busier with his work, I've needed to be, pick up slack and be more present in my partnership, as well as with my children. And so, those are important things to me. So, here I am today getting the chance to finally, what it feels like to me, finally share with you more about all of the things that I have made recently, because it's been a decent amount. So before we get into that, I do want to share a little bit about what I'm currently wearing. I feel like I am in my hashtag PJ era. I am totally, basically most days I'm living in some version of my flannel chanterelle pants and a bedrock tee, or my French terry chanterelles, or my R-night pants that are also made out of French terry, just some sort of cozy PJ pant bottom, or PJ-ish pant bottom, because I wear them out in public. I don't know about you guys, but I'm, you know, I wear things around the house and I wear them out whenever I go about town. I just, if it's cozy, I love it. So I am wearing right now a View A bedrock tee, and this is out of some Hudson Tencel rib knit fabric from U Fibers. It's a really beautiful navy. I made this in the size 8 View A. This was when I was a little nervous about negative ease, because View A of the bedrock tee by So Liberated, by the way, the View A version is designed with negative ease. Not a ton of negative ease, but negative ease nonetheless. And I was a little nervous about making it with negative ease, so I was like, well, I'll go with a size 8 that has like a little, just a slight amount of positive ease. And this is a very cozy shirt, no doubt, and I wear it a lot. But after I made it, I was like, yeah, I could see where maybe sizing down to a size 6 would fit my body much better, or, you know, as the design is intended. And so because I was like, I don't know, I guess I just like gained that knowledge, confidence after making this. I sewed a Stasia dress and I just immediately went for it. I went for a size 6 because that dress is also designed with negative ease. And I was like, I want it to fit the way it's intended. I need to get over my fear of negative ease. I'm just going to do it. So I did. And the Stasia dresses I have made since have fit like a charm. And I love the way they fit and the way they look. So now I'm not afraid of negative ease anymore. I think it has its place, just as positive ease has its place in my life. So yeah, and I'm wearing my little Christmas wreath heart chanterelle pants. These are made out of Christmas flannel from my local quilting shop. I've talked about them before, I believe on the last episode, but they're very cozy and I wear them tons, and they make me think of my dad and being surrounded by the people you love. And what better garment to be wearing around the holidays than something like that? So yeah, this is what I'm wearing today. And I've really enjoyed being able to just wear all the cozy things this holiday season so far. So, here we go. Let's dive into all of the things I have been making lately. So, first off is the Highline Henley. I love this sweater. It is by Tori Knits NYC. I was so fortunate to be able to test knit this design for Tori. I saw her post a picture on Instagram about this sweater, and I just thought the striped design was so cute. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's something that I love, that it's a drop shoulder sweater and it's just so simple. And in that simplicity, I think it's beautiful. I love the collar with the buttons. So I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to apply to test knit this. And, you know, I was so lucky to be able to do so. The process of knitting this was I mean, it was fun. It was great. It's an interesting construction. You start out, it's top down and seamless. So you start out knitting, you know, the front and the back separate. So you are working flat. She has you do, I just think the short rows are so nice on this sweater. I mean, look how, just look how seamless all of those. You do have shoulder shaping with the drop shoulder a bit with the short rows. And you actually, to get this seamless or this polished look with the short rows, you slip stitches. I've never done that before. And I just thought it was a really smart way to do the short rows and keep that seamless look. Tori also has really specific instructions on how to pick up stitches, and let me show you. To pick up stitches to start your front. So here's the line of the front and the back. And she has very specific instructions on how you can pick up your stitches to make sure you have a beautiful polished line, crisp line of your color there. And I thought that was really helpful. Let's see, what else did I love about this? Okay, I mean, clearly she had me at stripes whenever I saw it, but what really grabbed me were the buttons and this cute little colored neckline. I love it. I mean, you know, they are, you know, it is a functioning little button band, so you can wear it buttoned fully up. You can I've seen people have them styled and have the button band, I'll go ahead and show you, have the button band open like that, and it makes kind of like a cute little casual V-neck sort of sweater. Tori has a video tutorial as a part of the pattern showing you how to pick up the stitches and finish the little button band bottoms, like seam them down. That was really helpful. I will say, when I was knitting mine and or making mine, whenever I went to seam the little button band edges down here, the first time I did it, I hadn't woven all of my ends from when I knit the button band. I don't know, sometimes I have a complete aversion to knitting in or weaving in my ends. I do, and full disclaimer, I have finished sweaters in my closet that still have ends that need to be woven in, and I wear them without the ends woven in. But sometimes I get like this wild hair and I'll just weave in all my ends as I go, and I really love it. So I don't know, it just it's this whole thing with weaving in ends. But so I had been avoiding weaving in the ends around, like whenever I had knit these little button band sides, and then I was trying to seam down the button band edges here following her tutorials. And with all the ends I still hadn't woven in, it just kind of, it got confusing for me because it's the same color. There was just blue strands of yarn everywhere, and I felt like and I realized like I couldn't see very well, I guess, to stitch where I wanted to stitch to have a very beautiful line right here. So I will not lie, I did take, I think it was like the third time was the charm. I finally, like the first time I sewed it down, like the ends got in my way and I got confused and I didn't like the way it looked, so I took it out. But what did I do? I did the exact same thing again. I didn't weave in the ends and I got the same result. Like I got confused. And this time I didn't get it. I didn't seam all the way. I just was like, okay, I need to just stop and weave in my ends. And then sew down my edge. Okay, and that worked well. So I highly recommend when you make this project to go ahead, don't avoid weaving in your ends, go ahead and weave in your ends around the collar and the button band before you seam down. But her tutorial is very easy to follow and very helpful in how to do so. So I used Jill Draper Kingston. It's a DK weight yarn, but I was able to get gauge with it. It's a heavier DK, and this pattern is using Lobby Enemy Corey worsted, and so that's kind of a light worsted. So she recommends, she does state that in the pattern, if you're going to do a yarn substitution, you may want to look at a DK weight yarn, just depending on your preference of the tightness of the gauge or fabric you get. So anyway, I can't say enough about how awesome this sweater is. I love the Jill Draper Kingston yarn. I did purchase that from Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and they were really helpful in picking out my colors. You know, since I'm not there shopping in person, Renee kind of was my eyes on the ground, so to speak, and I was on the phone with her and trying to pick between two different contrasting colors. I knew I wanted to use the blue, but she thought that the mustard looked the best with the blue, and I totally agree with her. So thank you, Renee, for the help. So yeah, I have additional details about this sweater on my Ravelry project page. I will make sure that in the description I put a link to my Ravelry project page, but you can also, and I will go ahead and say this about all the finished objects I'm going to share, you know, please consider going to my Instagram page, and you can see additional photos of these items worn, styled, things like that. My Instagram handle is Edmiston Creations. Trying to keep it simple. So Highline Henley, highly recommend. She also has a 4-color option, and I am definitely tempted to do that one when I have 4 colors from my stash to stash bust. So that is on like the horizon, just as a like kind of a long-term project for inspiration, when I have 4 colors that speak to me that are like partial skeins in my stash. I'm totally gonna make another Highline Henley doing that. So, all right, the next item I have is a sewn item. This is the Orchards dress by Vivian Sho Chin. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not great at pronouncing names. So this is the dress that I wore styled with my Highline Henley in the finished object photos. I love this dress. I made it with Robert Kaufman indigo washed denim. It's 6.5 ounces per like square ounce or something. Like, I'm still a relatively newbie sewist, so I'm learning more and more about fabric. So it's a kind of a nice mid-weight denim. It's not very heavy, but it's definitely not light. This is such a versatile dress, and it's definitely going to be a wardrobe staple for me. I purchased this fabric from Osser Santa Fe. Laura was really helpful in helping me determine which indigo wash I wanted to go with, to wear with the Highline Henley. I knew I wanted, when I first saw the Highline Henley posted, I knew I wanted to wear denim with it. To me, it just screams, you know, denim. I don't know why. That's just the inspo that came to mind. So anyway, I love the Orchards dress. It does not have bust darts. The shaping for the fit of this bodice is in the gathers that you have in the collar and also in the back of the neck. And it's just so cute. Like the little, and I think the denim here, like the gathers just show really nice and crisp. And I used a Sarah Hart's label. Look at that cute little plant. I got those from Black Mountain Yarn Shop. And the buttons that I used are a mixture of buttons from my grandmother's stash. I actually have, I don't know if you can see it or not, but that jar of buttons in the background is my grandmother's button stash. My mom kindly gave that to me this past summer whenever I was visiting North Carolina, and so I use those buttons from time to time in my projects. And I thought that denim was a great canvas to be able to just go with all these different colors of buttons and still be able to, you know, it still can read as a neutral, so to speak. I can wear pink with this. I made sure I did pink, and I also threw in the red too. And I have blue, I have yellow, I have gray, I have green. So yeah, and I just love the way that turned out. And it does have pockets. It's got inline pockets, as well as I think it's view A that I did, because I did the ruffled tier at the bottom, and I just love that. It's just so fun and cozy to wear. I will say, I was chatting with my friend Chelsea. She is Chelsea Knits Sews Throws on Instagram. I was chatting with her about this dress because she's made the Orchards dress a couple of times, and the 2 tips I got from her was to pick a smaller size than maybe what you think. So I did go with a size, I believe this is a size 2. Maybe a size 4. No, I think it's a size 2. And I lengthened the bodice by 1 inch. And I'm really glad that I did that, because this gave me more the fit that I wanted with it. So those are the 2 tips that I have. And thank you to Chelsea for the tip about lengthening the bodice, because it's the perfect dress now. So that is the Orchards dress. I made that to wear with the Henley, but I will be wearing it with a lot of other things. So the next thing I have is the Lopi Love sweater. This is by This Bird Knits. I made this for my husband, and I used Brooklyn Tweed Quarry yarn. It's my first time working with Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, and it's a wonderful, I love, it's a chunky yarn, so fun to knit with, and it makes a beautiful fabric. And I will say that it softens up. It's already, I think, a pretty soft yarn to begin with, but it softens up even more after blocking it and washing it with wool wash. So I made this for my husband, and Lopi Love is written for a woman's body. So I didn't really know what I was getting into whenever I did that. I just thought, well, you know, I'll do his chest circumference and yada yada, and it'll be fine. Well, if I had done that, the yoke, so the Lopi Love yoke ends here. And then, I mean, I could have just kept knitting, and initially I did do that. I just started knitting in a solid color, and I was going to separate for the yoke a little lower. But then I decided, well, you know, I think it might actually look a lot nicer to extend the color work so it maintains the integrity of the original design, and separate for the yoke where he needs it. Because it is true, the things that you've heard about the difference between men and women's bodies with garment fitting. Men tend to need like broader shoulder, like, you know, broader shoulder area in the yoke, and a deeper yoke depth. That was definitely true for my husband, 100%. So I did extend the color work. I just kind of did it on my own, and there you go. So I separated for the yoke for him down here. And then in the underarm area, I casted on more stitches to accommodate fitting the yoke depth where he needed it. Then I knit the body, and at first I knit the body straight, and he put it on and it just swallowed him. So I ended up ripping back about up to here or so, and I put in waist shaping. I did decreases down the side to, you know, because he has broad shoulders and a narrow waist. So the decreasing really helps the sweater to fit his body properly. Those are really the main modifications that I made. I did knit the sleeves following the pattern, but I decreased differently and had him try it on multiple times to get the right rate of decrease for his arms, and this sweater fits him perfectly now. So there was a little bit of trial and error as I went, but that was what I signed up for when I decided to make it, and he loves it. It looks great on him. I also added a tag to the back of the sweater. These are little, I don't know if you can see, they say it like knitting made by Alicia Little Edmiston. Little's my maiden name. And I put a tag in the back of it because he was like, I don't know if I could, what's the back of this sweater? I don't know. So I was like, we'll solve that. I'll just sew in a label for you. So I did sew that in with my sewing machine. But yeah, it's overall it was a fun project. And if I had made one for myself, it would be a super duper quick knit. This one was not so quick just because of the modifications and kind of I would say they were fairly minor changes that I made to make sure it fit my husband correctly. So there's that one. The next couple of things, we're getting close to the end. I told you I had a lot to share. So, this is, on the last episode, I just had the bodice kind of together-ish. But this is my finished Christmas hinterland. One of them, I've got a candy cane fabric. I think that's kind of like, I can wear that more than Christmas. I'm going to wear it throughout the winter, but this is the one I was working on last time, and I finished it that day. I love the buttons. They're by Idlewild Clay. I just love the shape and how fun that little rectangle is, and I love the wood element. So yeah, I decided to do this one. This is a straight size 6, no modifications. I did 3/4 length sleeves for the first time, and I was really happy with how they came out. The next time that I make a hinterland with 3/4 sleeves though, I will trace off the sleeve, and I like the fit of the sleeve up, basically to here, but I do want more room in the elbow area. When I wear this, this little last part of the sleeve is a little tight. So I am going to grade out from a size 6 to maybe a size 10 and this last little section of the sleeve, just so I have some more room there. And yeah, so it was cool to kind of learn that process. I did not make a muslin of the sleeves before, I just went for it. And so I'm basically, because I was on a time crunch of when I wanted to wear it, that was the only reason why I did that. So this was my test run. It's a wearable garment. So, and now I've got new information to apply for future hinterlands with a 3/4 sleeve. And I also think it'd be fun to make a hinterland that's a full length sleeve on my arm too. So I'm gonna play around with that some this winter. But yeah, the typical things with hinterland inline pockets, and this fabric is from Osser Santa Fe as well. And I actually wore this dress to Osser Santa Fe's December Maker's Circle, so that was a lot of fun. That was why I was on a time crunch. I really wanted to wear it to Maker's Circle. And I've worn it a few times since as well. So, Christmas Hinterland. And another Christmas dress, I don't know when it just popped into my head, but I was like, I was sewing something and I was sewing something else entirely. And it just popped into my head like, you know what would be fantastic? A red Stasia dress for the holidays. And so I made one. I found somewhere that I could find the perfect red knit fabric, and this is on point, like the red. Check it out. This is a bamboo cotton ribbed knit. It's a nice, it's a mid-weight knit, so it's thicker than like one of the other Stasia dresses I've made. So, but it's thicker, which is great for the winter time. And it drapes and hangs like a dream on the body. It is amazing. This is from Blackbird Fabrics. I purchased it as part of their early bird Black Friday sale. And I am so thankful that I went with this fabric. I checked my usual haunts first. I checked U Fibers and Osser Santa Fe to see if they had red knit fabric in stock, and they didn't. I think U Fibers had a burgundy, and I was like, well, that could work, but I really wanted red. And I don't wear a lot of bold red in my wardrobe, although, I mean, I must say, I really love this color. I'm like, and it makes me rethink why I don't wear more red items, honestly. But yeah, so this turned out fantastic. I did the full length skirt, the Stasia dresses by So Liberated as well. And I did the 3/4 length sleeves. This is so easy to layer hand knits over. I've got several sweaters that I can layer over it, or cardigans to wear with it. So it's fantastic. It's exactly the Christmas dress of my dreams that I have wanted. So there we go. There's that one. And the last thing is my Tesselated Socks. I finished these outside of the challenge frame window. Okay, I did not finish them in the Thanksgiving window timeline, but that was because I wanted to finish up a test knit I had for Andrea that I have since, long since finished now, and that test knit that design by Andrea will not be released until maybe February. So I have that object finished and done and in my closet. I have this thing where if I test knit something, I don't feel like I can wear it until the release day. So there you go. I don't know. It's my own thing. I think other people do that too. I'm not unique in that feeling, but I do adhere to that process of if I test knit something, then I don't wear it until release day and forward, mainly because I want to make sure I keep the item nice looking for photos. And I also just kind of feel like it's not fair if I wear it before other people, have the chance to see the pattern in all its glory and potentially purchase the pattern for themselves to make it for themselves. So I digress. Tesselated Socks by Andrea Mowry. This was her sock challenge for the Thanksgiving holiday this year, or that weekend, and I really love them. I use the Farmer's Daughter Fiber Sock Club yarns and For the Love of Dolly sock yarn that I had in stash, and Evergreen Oh Dang. They're great. They're super cozy. I have actually wove in all of my ends. I'm very proud of myself, because I've worn them without weaving in the ends. And without blocking them too. So I wove in the ends and I blocked them since, and I love them. They're even softer now that I blocked them, and they're fantastic. So that is my last finished object to share with you. I am now addicted to knitting socks. By the way, I'm definitely in my sock knitting era. Just a small side note, I mean, I'm in the process of knitting bear paw socks, but that is is Andrea's DRK everyday sock, but in a DK weight yarn. I'm knitting those socks for all of my family members for Christmas. So I'm almost finished with Ella's, and Jake's are in progress, and Howie's I should be able to whip up, I think, in like a day. So I'm on track to finish those before Christmas Eve, and that's been my goal. So hooray! Okay, so that's all of the finished makes I have to share with you. See, like, this is why I said I really have needed to have an episode before today, just so I could share all the things that I've made. It's been a lot that I've been finishing up, and I still have lots of other things that I am in progress knitting, and I have lots of ideas of things I want to sew, but I'm not going to get into those things today, definitely, because I want to make sure I answer the viewer question that I got. So I got this question from Jen. She asked me, when did you first learn to knit? Did someone teach you, or did you learn on your own? So I first learned to knit by, you remember these things? Going to Michael's, or I'm pretty sure it was Michael's. I went to Michael's and I bought one of these. Learn to knit laminated trifold things. This is what I used to learn to knit. Now, this was back in, and it was $5.99. Look at that. Whenever I bought it, it's got the price tag on it still. That's crazy. It's bar charts, quick study home, learn to knit. That's funny. Anyway, but so when I talked about the heart wreath Christmas PJ pants that I'm wearing, I mentioned my dad had heart surgery. So my dad had heart surgery in December of 2012. And at the time I was getting my master's of social work, and so I was a total bookworm. I mean, because I had to be with all the things I was reading for school and things like that. But I whenever I had free time, I read on things that were interesting to me. And so nonfiction, I'm definitely, and I still am now to this day, I'm a nonfiction reader. And that's just my jam. I've tried to read a few novels over the years, and I lose interest. I don't know why. It's not that the stories really aren't interesting. I'm just drawn to nonfiction literature. So when he was hospitalized, I was so anxious. I couldn't read. I couldn't hold my attention to read. And he was at Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. And I knew, like, I needed something to be able to handle myself at the time. And so that's, I pulled out this I had this learn to knit card from my early 20s, when I had kind of dabbled with learning to knit, and I couldn't get the hang of it. I mean, no surprise, like, these visuals are not easy to figure out just from this trifold card. So I pulled that out, and I'm like, I am going to learn to knit. So this is the needle that I used, a bamboo 10 millimeter size 15. Oh, and it's a ChiaoGoo needle. Look at that. I use ChiaoGoo metal interchangeable needles now, so I didn't know it was a ChiaoGoo whenever I bought it. So I just was drawn to how beautiful the wooden element was. And little did I know, this is actually great for, you know, bamboo or wood is great for a beginner to learn to knit on because it helps grip the yarn better. I didn't know any of that at the time whenever I picked these up. One of my dogs chewed up the other one, so I only have one now. But I knit on straight needles. I was not holding the needles right. I would put the needle, I would hold it, like balance it in my abdomen and like throw the yarn over to make a knit stitch. That's how I knit in 2012. So I don't really call it knitting. I mean, it was knitting. I only knit the garter stitch. And my friend from my social work program, we would just be like, I knit one thing, scarves. That's all I know how to knit. So I would cast on like 15 to 20 stitches and just knit back and forth. And I didn't purl, none of that. And like I said, it was very slow because I was not holding the needles correctly. And this is the scarf that I knit while my dad had his heart surgery. And there was just something so soothing about being able to stitch. I couldn't read, but I could knit. And it's a very long scarf. This is Noro yarn, by the way. Again, at the time, I had no idea what I was grabbing to knit with or work with. I just grabbed what I loved, and surprise, it's earthy, earth tones. I mean, this is living proof I have always been in my earthy era for sure. I just, you know, and this is a project, this scarf is something that I still wear and I love very, very much. It has a lot of meaning to me. But I will say, you know, so I knit this back in 2012, and I knit a few scarves after that, still all on wooden straight needles because I didn't know what I was doing. And then I put it down. I mean, mainly because I was very slow. I didn't, you know, I just didn't get it right. Or like I didn't get it right in my head. Like it just didn't click per se. So I would put knitting down and I'd knit maybe a scarf in the winter time. And then I mean, I didn't knit or make anything for a while. I couldn't read patterns, none of that. I didn't knit or make anything for a long time. And then fast forward, I met my husband, got married, then got pregnant with Ella a few years after we were married. And while she was an infant, at the CrossFit gym I went to, one of the women there crocheted, and I was like, oh, I want to crochet. Whenever I was growing up, my grandmother crocheted and she knitted, like serial knitter and crocheter. So it's kind of cool that I love knitting and crocheting now. It's kind of like an homage to my grandmother. I would make crochet chains when I was like 15, but I didn't know how to do anything else except for do the crochet chain. So she mentioned she knew how to crochet and she would make, you know, do patterns and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, could you show me how to read a pattern? And so she came over to my house one day and showed me how to do a single crochet, a double crochet, and how to turn, how to do slip stitches. And that came very naturally to me, crocheting. I had no problem really picking it up at all. And once she taught me how to read a pattern, it was like a whole world was unlocked. I started knitting headbands for Ella and all these like shawls, and then I got into crocheting sweaters. And so I crocheted like obsessively for a couple of years before I really learned to knit. So what I consider my actual knit anniversary is May 26th of 2021. So when I got pregnant with Howie, I was so nauseous the first 3 months of my pregnancy with him. I had no morning sickness whatsoever with Ella, so I got slammed with it whenever I was pregnant with Howie. I just think it was like something with the male hormones. I don't know, man. Like I was nauseous as all get out. So I went from crocheting almost every day to I was so nauseous I didn't crochet any at all. But there was something about like whenever I was in my first trimester that I thought, well, I really want to learn to knit again, but actually learn to knit and hold the needles properly and all of that. So I kind of toyed around a little bit with it then. And I mean, I did like a very tiny 1" by 1" like knitted swatch, if you want to call it that. I was looking at YouTube videos online, and that's where I stumbled across the 2 different ways to hold the needles, English and continental. And I was like, oh my gosh, like continental comes really naturally to me because you hold the yarn in your left hand. And crocheting, I always tensioned the yarn with my left hand and had the hook in my right hand. So continental felt so natural. So that's how I knit, is continental now. So I did that little square when I was pregnant, in my first trimester with Howie, but then I put it down. I was so nauseous and I just like, yeah, forget it. I did start crocheting again when my morning sickness subsided. And but it wasn't until Howie was like 3 to 4 months old that I started really getting stubborn and wanting to knit again. So like I said, like for whatever reason, I just got it in my head. May 26th was the day I picked up my ChowGoo metal needles, because my sister-in-law, her name is Brooke, and she's Knit a Lot of Mama on Instagram. She told me like, oh, interchangeable needles or the circular needles are the way to go. Like they're a lot easier to kind of get the hang of when you're learning, because the needles are connected versus straight needles. So I took her advice and I bought, a couple of fixed circulars. They were like 14" like basically or 9" even, like for hats. And so that's what I picked up to learn on. And I taught myself watching YouTube videos on how to knit and purl continental, because I remembered from when I was pregnant with Howie that continental was the way I wanted to learn, because that felt natural, holding the yarn in my left hand. So stubbornness paid off. That's all I can say, because knitting did not come naturally to me whatsoever. I felt like my stitches were wonky and all over the place, but I was bound and determined to get it, and I stuck with it, and I'm really glad I did, because now I knit all the time, and I'm obsessed with it, and I love the different types of fabric you can get with color work, with textured, and it's just an amazing craft, and it keeps my hands busy while helping my mind to feel calm and still while I still have movement. I have discovered about myself that movement is a part of my stillness process, as much of an oxymoron as that sounds, because they are definite dialectics. But I feel the most still whenever I have a deliberate movement as a part of my stillness. So just like I feel very still when I'm in the middle of an Olympic lift or in the middle of a run or a CrossFit workout, I feel still when I have the movement of my hands going, the clicking of the needles, when I'm out on walks and knitting on something meditative. It's just been such a joy to have in my life. And so I'm thankful for my stubbornness, is I guess the moral of this story. So thank you so much for that question, Jen. And I hope that, today that I have shared something that maybe inspires you to make something over the holiday season. I will say I encourage you to be selective in what you are making, make things that bring you joy and that you find, stillness in your heart. And, above all else, I think let's normalize it's okay that we're going to think of other projects and have this pull to make all the things. But, recognize that and bring yourself back to the current moment and the project you're knitting on, and give yourself permission to say, hey, you know what? This is where I'm at right now. I'm knitting this thing and I'll get as far as I get, and that's okay. There will be time to get to other things. So, it's okay to slow down and just enjoy what you're doing. You don't have to be making all of the time. I think that that's something I have to remind myself of constantly, because I am, very type A, and I'm like, okay, I need to do this and this and this. I'm like, Alicia, it's okay to just be. And that's what I hope that you know too, is it's okay to just be as you are. You don't have to be doing anything to prove your worth. So on that note, and in the interest of time, I had a feeling that this was going to be a longer episode, just sharing the finished makes and sharing my knitting story. So I am going to wrap things up here. I would love to hear, and if you would like to share in the comments, how did you get into knitting? What brought you into the knitting world? And how did you learn to knit? I would love to hear. So, please comment below and share, how you dove into the world of knitting. And until the next time, I do have other things to share, so I will be back. But until then, I hope you enjoy intentionally making and slowing down and being present with yourself and your loved ones as Christmas approaches, if you celebrate Christmas. And I look forward to being back here with you soon. Until next time, happy mindful making.